up, everybody? Welcome into the Porch, a Volquest baseball podcast. I am Eric Kang. A big series coming up this weekend as Tennessee's back on the road to South Carolina. Sure, South Carolina's record is not very good, only 1-5 in SEC play. But anytime you go on the road in this league, nothing's ever a given. So Tennessee will be challenged, and we'll look at South Carolina and all the ins and outs of that ball club that's underperformed to this date. All that and more right here on the Porch this weekend, presented by our friends over at Spivey King and Spivey LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you, T&Trail Lawyers. If you got a problem, again, let them find that solution for you. You can call the number 423-245-4185 for a free consultation. That's Spivey King and Spivey LLP.com. Zander Sechrist going to join the show here in about 15 minutes. Lengthy conversation for Zander. We recorded it earlier this week, and we were just talking. We were just going back and forth. And when we got done, he was like, man, that's so much fun. It just felt like a basic conversation. I'm like, well, yeah, whenever you have some good dialogue and everything, that's what it's supposed to be. So really fun conversation. We talked a lot about midweeks. This is prior to the midweek game. I recorded it that afternoon prior to the midweek game on Tuesday. So we talked a lot about the midweek loss and kind of what the mindset is for midweeks from a player's perspective. How do you puke and rally essentially after a midweek loss, and a lot of good stuff there from Zander Sechrist. And then, of course, what's going on with him right now in spring training as that's wrapping up. So all that and more coming up here today on the Porch, presented again by our friends over at Spivey King and Spivey LLP. All right, so I'm recording this on a Thursday afternoon, this part of the show on a Thursday afternoon. We'll get the injury reports, the initial weekend injury report coming out later tonight. First pitch is 7:30 on 7:30 on a Tuesday, on Friday. And so if the first pitch is at 7:30, then that injury report is going to come out at around 5:30. So we'll see what that looks like, who's on it and everything, but 7 o'clock, so it'll come out at 5 o'clock. But we'll see what Gavin Keelan's status is. Tony Vitello said on Tuesday night that, hey, he's improving, he's getting better, still going to be hitting first and then fielding. We'll see what happens. All that and more. But, I've talked to some people as the week's gone on, and I do think Keelan is beginning to do a little bit more. They're being super cautious with him. They are not rushing him back. It is literally March the 27th. There is no need to rush that guy back, okay? And so they're going to take their absolute utmost time in allowing him to get fully healthy, because with a hamstring, it's one of those things to where if you don't rest it, if you don't get it better, it's just going to linger and it's going to get worse as the year goes along. And so nobody wants that. But I think, in conversations with people I've spoken to as the week's gone on, I think Gavin's beginning to do a little bit more. I think he grabbed a glove for a little bit and took it easy, just, moving around a little bit out there at the Keystone, but nothing significant. And so and again, by the time I post this podcast and when it's out there, the injury report might be kind of coming out simultaneously. I would expect him to be questionable on tonight's injury report, and then we'll see what it is 2 hours before first pitch on a Friday, if he's out or if he's available. Even if he doesn't show up on the injury report, say tomorrow before pregame, that doesn't mean that he's guaranteed to start, right? It's just he's available. And if you're available, that means you could be called on to pinch hit, to do whatever, or you might not play. I think back at the Vanderbilt game when Brew McCoy was listed as available, but he didn't play in that game. And so we'll see what is in store for Gavin Keelan this weekend, but he is progressing, and that's good. I still don't think he'll do an awful lot this weekend, but I think he'll grab a bat maybe and help Tennessee hit at some point, whether that be pinch hitting or DHing. But again, that's a day-to-day thing, and what I say right now could be outdated this time tomorrow. So, that's just kind of how those things work. What's the latest with Alberto Ozuna? Somebody asked me that on the board Friday morning. I wanted to call around, and I've been doing this, on a Thursday in preparation for the War Room, essentially. Every Thursday checking in with a number of people on Alberto and kind of seeing if there's anything new that's transpired. Here on a Thursday afternoon, nothing's new. And I know back when, his motion for preliminary injunction was denied and his TRO was denied and all that, I mentioned that, the lawyers got a couple of choices. You could appeal, but the appeal is not going to help him get on the field this year. You could motion for reconsideration, and you thought potentially that's an avenue that they would go down. They still could, even though there's kind of a timeline on that. But at the end of the day, you're motioning for the judge who already denied you to reconsider his decision. And, he's not going to do that. Nothing about public backlash or public support for Alberto Ozuna is going to change that judge's mind, in my opinion. But the public support and everything you've been seeing and rallying behind Alberto Ozuna, you got to think that's kind of targeted at the NCAA, right? And can the NCAA change its mind? And the NCAA can change its mind tomorrow. It can change its mind in 2 minutes if it wanted to. But I think as of right now, still kind of in a holding pattern. And I'll continue to work and see if there's anything new in those developments for Alberto Ozuna and his fight for eligibility, of course, as the season goes along. Made this note on the board on, I guess it was Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday. Baseball America put out its new updated MLB draft prospect rankings. They do a top 300. And just going down the list, man, 11 current players ranked inside the top 300 draft prospect list for Baseball America. That list also includes 7 commits. I mean, sure, there are going to be some commits on this list that will not make it to campus. I'm going to point blank tell you that right now. But there will also be commits that are on this list that will absolutely make it to campus. I mean, Levi Clark was on list. Jay Abernathy was on list. Keegan Coons was on a list. You know, like that's just kind of how it is. Anson Siebert was on list. All those guys made it to campus. Dean Curley was at number 7. Cruz Schoolcraft, which is a left-handed pitcher, left-handed bat, essentially, number 8 prospect on that list. He is a Tennessee commit. I would wholeheartedly not expect to have him on campus. But again, you might be saying, well, then why even take the commit? Why recruit this guy? You never know what can happen. I always draw back. I haven't covered baseball recruiting very long, but in this past cycle, Anson Siebert was never coming to campus. He was never coming to campus. And then he was. That might not make sense, but it's true. Like, he wasn't coming. Some things happened his senior year in high school, injury, some other things, and then boom, he's here. He's not playing this year. He's recovering from Tommy John and all that. But, I mean, he's on campus, and he's going to be a guy that can maybe help Tennessee in the future. He's got unbelievable talent. But, that's what I always look back on. Anson Siebert was never coming to campus until he was. But Cruz Schoolcraft, number 8 on that list behind Dean Curley at number 7. Billy Carlson is another one of those guys that, boy, if you're going to be taken in the top 10, you probably aren't going to be turning that down. He's coming in here at number 10, ranked number 10, and he is a Tennessee commit, shortstop, second baseman. You've got Liam Doyle at number 16. Liam Doyle, of course, Tennessee's ace, left-handed pitcher on the mound. Steele Hall, another Tennessee commit, coming in at number 23. Cameron Appenzeller, another Tennessee commit, coming in at number 27. Gavin Keelan, number 28. A.J. Russell at number 66. I think when A.J. gets back on the mound, he'll jump up. Andrew Fisher at number 70. I think he'll move up. I think Nate Snead is obviously going to move up from his number 82 ranking. Again, this is Baseball America. Ethan Moore, another Tennessee commit, number 96. So just right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 Tennessee players, albeit players and or commits, in the top 100. That is 10%. For one program? Hell, that's really, really good. Marcus Phillips at number 13. I think he's an obvious one to move up. Tanner Franklin, number 134. I think he moves up. Reese Chapman at 148. Evan Hawkins, who's another Tennessee commit, at number 163. Brandon Arvidsson, number 207. Taylor Tracy, a Tennessee commit, at number 229. And Cannon Peebles coming in ranked 266. So you're going to see a lot of different updates from now until June. This is Baseball America. D1 Baseball will have rankings. Perfect Game will have rankings. MLB.com will have several rankings. And so, we'll continue to track it. But it just kind of goes back to show you, man, what Tony Vitello, Josh Elander, Frank Anderson, Ross Kivitz, all the people behind the scenes that we don't know, all the people who are, the coaches who have moved on and gone on, Richard Jackson. You built a monster here. It's really, really impressive what Tennessee baseball has done. Okay, so want to touch on South Carolina here before we get to Zander Sechrist. And, South Carolina is what it is. Not scaring anybody right now. But like I said at the very beginning, you go on the road in this league, nothing's guaranteed, okay? You'll get humbled in a hurry. But Tennessee's going to be on the road at Founders Park, beautiful ballpark in South Carolina. Tennessee, of course, still ranked number 1 in the country, 23-2, 5-1 in SEC play. 1 on the road, winning games 2 and 3 at Alabama, which still is number 12 in the country. South Carolina, 17-9 on the year, 1-5 in SEC play. They've lost 4 straight. They were swept by Arkansas last weekend. They lost in midweek to North Carolina. Their lone SEC win so far was Game 2 at home against Oklahoma back on March the 15th. Paul Mainieri's back in the game. Yes, longtime skipper of LSU, won a national championship in 2009, retired after 2021, forced out, retired, whatever. Jay Johnson's been there, and obviously LSU hasn't skipped a beat. But he is back in the game, and we can talk about this at a later date, but was that the right hire? Were you wanting short-term stability? I'm sure that's what you were wanting, but the guy is not coached until this year. The guy had been retired throughout the entire name, image, and likeness era of college athletics. So far, of course, it's not going well, but again, we'll see how long he wants to coach and all that. But a guy that obviously knows his stuff. He's coached for a long time, and again, a national championship winning coach in Paul Mainieri. South Carolina was picked 14th in the league's preseason predicted order of finish. Ethan Petrie was the only all-conference preseason selection. Of course, he's an outfielder, and he's one of two players that's really kind of showboating in the lineup right now. Not a whole lot of star power on this roster, to be completely honest. Tennessee's won 4 straight in the series and has won 9 of the last 10 meetings between South Carolina. The pitching for South Carolina has been literally all over the place. It's been everywhere so far. Your projected weekend rotation for Tennessee, it's going to be the same. Lefty Liam Doyle on Friday, righty Marcus Phillips on Saturday, and then TBA on Sunday. But Tegan Kuhns has already started 3 games this year, 2 games in a row in SEC play, and he was phenomenal on the road at Alabama. There is no reason to believe that Tegan Kuhns wouldn't start Game 3. And also, there's not much of a scenario when Kuhns is coming out of the bullpen to help you in Games 1 or Game 2. So I would fully anticipate Tegan Kuhns starting and pitching in Game 3. But that's Tennessee's side. For South Carolina, they're going to counter Doyle with a fellow lefty, Jake McCoy, on Friday night. 2-2's the record, 6.57 ERA. Wowzas. Saturday, another lefty, Jarvis Evans Jr., 3-0, 3.42 ERA to counter Marcus Phillips. And Sunday's also a TBA for the Gamecocks. Again, the pitching's been all over the place so far. Opening day starter, a righty, Dylan Askew. 0-1's the record, a 1.77 ERA. Okay, he's been good when he's been pitching for South Carolina. He shifted to the number 3 starter role 4 weeks into the season. Didn't pitch last weekend, okay, after reportedly being hit in the head by a home run ball in practice when he was standing in the bullpen. I mean, sheesh. Like, who does that happen to, right? He was dealing with some back issues as well, but reportedly, he was standing in the bullpen during practice one day last week and got hit in the head on a home run ball. I mean, goodness gracious. So we'll check his availability for this week when the availability report comes out on a Thursday night. But he's logged the 5th most innings on the staff at 20 innings and a third, 22 strikeouts. He does have an alarming 16 walks, though. That walk rate is super high. Opponents are only hitting 125 against him, but a lot of free passes. We will see if Dylan Askew is available this weekend, but he was the opening day starter for the Gamecocks and has not really been a factor here lately because of some weird stuff off the field, or I guess off the mound. Brandon Stone, not listed as a projected weekend starter. He might start Game 3. He started Friday night game the last 2 weeks, I believe. 1-2's the record, 4.05's the ERA. Team high 26 2/3 innings pitched, 2 starts over 7 appearances, 29 strikeouts, 8 walks. Opponents are hitting 240 against him. Again, I don't know why he's not. Maybe he'll show up on the availability report tonight, but not really sure why he's not projected to start. I would assume he'll start Game 3 if healthy. Jake McCoy, who will start on Friday, he started all 6 weekends of the season so far. He's allowed 22 runs off 24 hits and 24.2 innings pitched. Southpaw leads the team with 45 strikeouts, but he's surrendered just 12 walks. He started the season as number 3 starter. He then moved up to number 2 at the beginning of March, and now he's starting the season opener, or the series opener, against Tennessee on Friday night. So he's been all up and down the weekend rotation. There's some stuff there. Again, leading the team in strikeouts, but boy, that ERA is super, super inflated. Saturday's starter, fellow lefty Jarvis Evans, again 3-0 is the record, 3.42 ERA, was primarily the midweek starter for quite some time. He moved into the weekend rotation last year, number 3 spot, against Arkansas, where he allowed 2 runs off 5 hits and 3 innings of work. 26 innings and a third so far on the year, 10 runs allowed off 25 hits, 27 strikeouts, just 6 walks, and he's going to get the start on Saturday. So we'll see what happens. This closer, 4 saves on the year, is righty Brendan Sweeney. ERA is at 8. 0-2 is the record. Other righties that are used predominantly out of the bullpen for the most part for South Carolina: Parker Marlatt, 1-0, 2.45 ERA. Tyler Pitzer, 3-0, 2.70 ERA. And Zach Russell, 1-1, 5.40 ERA. Those are the most heavily used bullpen arms for South Carolina. Team ERA at 4.61. Combined 283 strikeouts and 119 walks. That is South Carolina on the mound. Again, it's been kind of all over the place. At the dish, not a lot of star power here, not going to lie. 280 is the average team-wide, 25 home runs, 177 runs scored, 28 of 36 stolen bases opportunities in 26 games. 25 home runs in 26 games. Pretty much 2 players of note in this lineup, okay? At least to know going into it. Leadoff man, center fielder Nathan Hall, and right fielder Ethan Petrie, who I highlighted earlier. Hall leads the team with a 398 batting average, 39 hits, 22 runs scored, 7 stolen bases, 23 RBIs, tied for the team lead with Petrie, who Petrie leads the team with 6 homers and is tied for a 359 average, or has a 359 average. So those are the 2 guys towards the top of the order. Petrie hits cleanup, Hall leads off. Those are the 2 best guys in the order. Designated hitter Jace Wyota, 321 average so far in the year. Second baseman Jordan Carrion, a 304 average. The only other 2 players that are hitting north of 300 so far in the season. Of the 16 teams in the league, South Carolina ranks 15th in the conference in average and slugging percentage, 14th in on-base percentage, 13th in runs scored, and 14th in home runs and RBI. Not a lot of pop to date for the offense from South Carolina. But again, it feels like it's never just that easy or never that simple. Go on the road in this league. We'll see what happens. Tennessee's at South Carolina. Game time again. Friday night's going to be at 7 o'clock. Saturday's at 4 o'clock. And then Sunday is going to be at 5 o'clock on the SEC Network. Those other 2 games are streamed, SEC Network Plus. Sunday's game at 5 o'clock Eastern is going to be on the SEC Network. All right, so that's enough of me. Let's get to Zander Sechrist. Really fun, informative, cool conversation with former Tennessee lefty Zander Sechrist, who's now in the Minnesota Twins organization, going through spring training, about to be assigned to where he's going to begin his first full minor league season. So I'm looking forward to that. Fun conversation that's coming up next right here on the Porch. But first, let's get a word from our friends over at Spivey, King and Spivey LLP. You got a problem? Let them find a solution for you. T and Trial Lawyers. They specialize in criminal defense, family law, and personal injury, DUI, assault, divorce, custody, alimony, personal injury such as car wrecks. Over 80 years of combined experience, Spivey, King and Spivey LLP provides representation throughout state and federal courts in Northeast Tennessee. The firm has a vast amount of trial experience. The practice has been in place for 43 years with this specific partnership since 2012, while also having partners who are energized for today's modern legal demands. Practicing primarily in Northeast Tennessee, the Tri-Cities of Sullivan County, as well as Hawkins County, Washington County, and surrounding areas, the firm has won multiple awards, has got attorneys who have been rated by super lawyers with Mid-South real trial experience. Whether you've been injured in a car accident, need help with a divorce, help with custody of your children, or you've been accused of a crime, Spivey, King and Spivey LLP, they're here to help you. Go see them in person today at 142 Cherokee Street, Kingsport, Tennessee. The phone number, 423-245-4185, 423-245-4185 for a free consultation. You can also check them out online at SpiveyKingandSpiveyLLP.com. You got a problem? Let them find a solution for you. TN Trial Lawyers. Zander Sechrist back on the show this week as Tennessee gets ready to go to South Carolina this weekend. Zander, want to get your thoughts on this past weekend series win over Alabama, but first, kind of give us an update on what's going on with you as minor league or as spring training is coming to a close, and you're about to, at some point this week, find out where you're going to be assigned.
Yeah, at some point. Just don't know yet. It's my first go around in these things, so once I get used to it, I'll know a lot more. But yeah, I just threw 3 innings yesterday. I mean, the last time I threw that much was early the last game, so it's been months and months. Very sore today. Probably going to take a few recovery laps in our pool here at the Airbnb before we got to move out next Monday to head back to the complex. So, yeah, just doing baseball stuff. I mean, it never stops really. Keeps on going. Good things are happening, and good to see the Vols are doing well, of course, and obviously college baseball is starting to get to the middle of the season.
I would assume that was probably your last outing of spring, over the weekend on Sunday, or are you going to pitch one more before you get assigned?
I got one more. Next Sunday I throw 4. I'm getting built up to 5 innings, so I'm not too sure how they'll do it just yet. Like I said, I don't know. It's my first go around in these things, so we'll see.
How's this experience been though? Again, it's your first spring training and you're on a bus going all around Florida and all that, but it's got to be exciting. I know you pitched with the big league club a couple of times, like we talked about last time.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, it's kind of interesting. We're starting to not face each other. We faced the Red Sox a bunch, the Braves a few times. So it's good to see other competition rather than yourself. Sometimes it feels like a college inter squad sometimes out there. That's the only thing I can relate to. And then facing another team's almost like a fall kind of game for college if you were to compare it. But yeah, it's good to see other people in other uniforms, and I'm still waiting to see if I can link up with some of the guys who are in Florida, like Combsy.
No.
But he's in Clearwater. That's not necessarily too close to Fort Myers, but there's plenty more out there that I want to link up with as well.
Have you reached that point where, I know growing up, obviously you're a Georgia boy, you're a big Pittsburgh sports fan. What was your team growing up? I guess in baseball, was it the Pirates or was it the Braves?
No, it was the Braves. I was a big Chipper Jones guy, so I wanted to be him growing up, but now that I've put the bat on the shelf, it's time to be Glavine or Maddox, one of the two.
But have you reached that point to where, I see Nate Snead, he is a huge Brewers fan. He tweets about the Brewers all the time, but you're an affiliated ball right now, or you're about to be, and you're with a team. It's just that transition from growing up, childhood dreams, fandom, to now it's like, oh man, I am literally pitching with the Twins logo on my chest. That's got to be a really, really cool feeling.
Yeah, it definitely is. And short little story, a couple of our guys who Eli Jones, he pitched for South Carolina. I know we play them coming up this week. He's from Georgia as well. He had to go to the Braves minor league side, I think this past week, and Acuna was taking rehab ABs, and he pitched against them, and he thought it was just the coolest thing ever because he's also a Braves fan. But it's kind of hard because, I mean, you've grown up watching Braves baseball pretty much all your life, and then now you're on a team. You can't really show your fandom too much. I mean, you want to keep up with them, yes, but you can't show your fandom too much unless you get traded or get put on the Braves. So that would be different. But yeah, like you said, Brewers and Nate Snead. Obviously, Nate Snead's a huge Brewer fan, and heck, even if it comes, maybe he gets picked up by him, but you never know. So obviously, they're probably on his board. To be fair, pretty much he's on everybody's board.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of cool if he gets drafted by the Brewers, and you just never know though. I mean, he could go to the Cardinals, and now he's got to pitch against the Brewers a bunch of times. So it's just how baseball works, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's the business side of it. I'm a huge Braves fan. I grew up watching the Braves on TBS as a child every single night, and it's always interesting to see those guys that started their career somewhere else, got traded, and then when they get there, they're like, "Oh man, I grew up a Braves fan. I'm an Atlanta boy." Or it's kind of unique to see those stories unfold. So who knows what's in store for guys like you, Nate Snead, and you're right. I think Nate Snead's pretty much on everybody's board at this point in time in his career. All right, Zander. Well, obviously, we're going to be looking forward to watching where you're going to begin your professional career in affiliated ball. So looking forward to that, wherever that is in the system. I think we spoke last time. Going to be somewhere in the Midwest, probably. But yeah, Tennessee, great series win at Alabama. Dropped its first game of the season midweek to ETSU, and I want to start there. For those that don't follow baseball as closely or are kind of jumping on it late or whatever it is. Like a midweek loss isn't the end of the world. And I want you to explain that to us. A little bit different strategy in there, but you guys lost to Tennessee Tech in 22. You lost to, was it Tech and Boston College in 23. Last year it was Lipscomb. Like that stuff happens. It's how you respond. And obviously Tennessee responded a great way this weekend.
Yeah, it's the midweek's always like the tough part because obviously you said there's a different type of strategy. You want to get guys work. You'll see different pitchers other than the weekend get in work, but it also gives a chance of, something like that happening. I know it looks like catastrophic. Like, oh man, if it was a professional sports team, everybody would be fire everybody, blow it up, and get rid of everyone. But
season's over. Why even go out there again, right?
Yeah, season's over. It's whatever. But it kind of also gives the players like a humbling experience because in 22 when we played with wood bats against Tennessee Tech, obviously we were on like a 20-plus game win streak, and then that happened. So it kind of gives you a reset. Like, okay, we're human. We just need to reset. And luckily enough, they got over that loss pretty quick. Although it could have carried, this weekend was actually a big weekend from however you look at it, because losing Friday, that's 2 in a row after losing a terrible midweek and then losing Friday in Alabama, but winning
Thursday. It was a short week. It's Thursday. So yeah,
that's right. So that's even. So thank goodness it didn't get that much. But I think historically we're not really good at Bama. So I don't know when the last time we won a series there. Maybe it was 21. Maybe I don't know. But historically we're not very good in Alabama. I do know that Alabama runs this series no matter which way you look at it. They just run it because they were good for a long time back before we were good again. So, but it was like I said, it was good to see the team really rally together for a short week and not let it spiral out of control, in which it could have easily spiraled out of control. And you could have been looking at 4 straight losses. You could have been looking at, winning 1 out of 4 games of the week. But luckily we were able to split the week. I know people hate, you should win every week, but in hindsight, you did win an SEC series, so you'll be just fine. And I think it's because going back to the midweek point, it's tough because they swept Florida, a top 10 team. Although Florida's kind of in a little bit of a rut right now, so we don't know what they'll be. Yeah, you have no idea because it's still early. But coming off a sweep and then facing an in-state rival, it's kind of where you want to win those types of games. But it's nothing to panic over. But it could have been like I said with the short week. But I'm glad they were able to at least split the week. But because of the heightened sense on the weekends, and then you kind of lull yourself into the midweek trap game. But don't worry, it happens to everybody. It's not just Tennessee that lost their midweek. So it's really nothing to harp over. But V does always say midweek wins earn you a regional.
Yeah, it was. You look around the country. Florida's lost midweek. A&M's lost a lot this year, but A&M's lost them. There's a lot of teams around the country that have lost midweek. It's not the end of the world, but for a person in my perspective, covering the team and watching every single game and all that, me and some others, Sean, we were talking. It's you can spot that. And I'm glad you said track. You could spot that Tuesday night game from a mile away. It was emotional home series sweep of Florida, short week, massive series at Bama. ETSU on a Tuesday, they can swing it as good as anybody. They got some dudes in that lineup.
They're 17-4 this year.
Yeah, and the guy that ended up having the game-winning home run, or maybe it was the game-tying home run, whatever it was. He's up there with Justin LeBron in terms of national leaders in home runs. That's a pretty good team.
That's what always gets me about the midweek. You look up at the scoreboard, you're like, how does this guy have 10 or 11 bombs? And then all of a sudden, bang, he hits another one. And you're like, oh, that's why.
Yeah, he's a pretty good baseball player, no doubt. So you go down to, I guess one more note on that, as a team leader last year in the last couple of years when you were with Tennessee, is there anything that needs to be said? Did anybody say anything during those midweek losses, or was it just all right, guys, let's get back to work and be who we are tomorrow?
It's just, you kind of want to go out there and play real quick. So I think it kind of favored us in a sense. If we had a short week like this week, you just want to get back out there. And, midweek losses are tough, though, because you're obviously supposed to like if you're a betting man, obviously you're putting the mortgage on Tennessee to win that game.
Yeah.
So obviously there's some, people that are mad about that, but that's whatever. But yeah, those midweek games are tough, especially when you lose, but it does help keeping in the rhythm, especially if it's a heightened sense of a in-state rival like a Tennessee Tech, a ETSU, or a Lipscomb, or even a Belmont. Like if you're in tight games in the midweek, it actually makes you better. And going back to 21, we lost to Lipscomb. I mean, we lost the midweek to Lipscomb. 22, obviously, we lost the midweek to Tennessee Tech. 23, I know we lost, I think, again to Tennessee Tech.
And Boston College.
So, yeah, don't worry. The midweek is tough. And you said about Florida. Florida made it to Omaha when they were losing all these midweek games. Like, are we just – like, the midweek is tough, yes, and it gets you to a regional. Like, Florida was good enough to win, like, at least half their midweek games. But they lost a whole bunch, and they still made it to Omaha, and they still made a run in Omaha. So it's nothing to panic over. I mean, it is something to look at, like, hey, maybe, things went wrong. Maybe it was a bad game. And then I bet a lot of people were thinking that when the Thursday night loss happened. They're like, okay, maybe that was something that there's something totally off, even without Keelan. I think Keelan got hurt Tuesday.
Yeah, it was late Tuesday.
Yeah, late Tuesday. Even without Keelan, you kind of give that one game lull of like, okay, without him, that's okay if you lose or you win. But like I said, to bounce back and win 2 this weekend, 10-7, a little bit closer than it probably should have. I was watching the end of that game. Definitely closer than it should have. And then obviously a statement 9-2 win on Saturday was very convincing. And now you're coming back home after a 2-day kind of break to face Queens going into South Carolina on the road. So it'll be.
I talked to Hunter Inslee after the game on Saturday, and he was like, "Man, I'm looking forward to this off day tomorrow for sure."
Yeah, we always love Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. Because you get that off day Sunday, like you're doing nothing. You're going golfing, like you're actually being a dude. And obviously this upcoming schedule with Queens tomorrow, and then this week with South Carolina, we do have Tennessee Tech looming right after that South Carolina series and
rivalry game.
I know a fair share of Tennessee Tech, and they will play exactly like ETSU. I mean, it doesn't even matter their record. Like they come in and it's like their World Series, and they want to be you and they want to beat you. So that's just how I look at it. But obviously, I'm not going to get away from this weekend and Queens coming up because you can't look over midweeks.
I promise I'm going to ask about Alabama series here in a moment. I never envisioned we'd spend 15 minutes talking about midweek, but this is good stuff. I do want you to explain. You mentioned that Tony Vitello says that midweeks are how you win regionals. What's he mean by that? So
like midweeks, like. Midweek wins get your regionals, like they get you into a regional, but like it helps you win a regional because because when a 4 seed is playing a 1, the opponent more than likely is going to be like a midweek opponent. So heck, if ETSU has a great year and they get matched up in the same regional as Tennessee, I mean they've proven that they could beat you once. So it's like you have to. It's tough because you never look at like a 4 seed losing or 4 seed beating a 1, especially in their home park. So that's why midweeks are so important because you never know when any of these teams could honestly get to your regional and be a 4 seed or even a 3 seed because some of them can be a 3 seed if they want to. We also play Alabama State this year, which is also a regional team from 22 on two. I mean, they were also a region. They were the 4 seed in our regional. So obviously there's a little bit of history there, but yeah, it's just like midweeks help you win regionals because of the lull, the 4 seed and even the 3 seed.
Yeah, Northern Kentucky's coming up on the midweek schedule later this year, and obviously we know about the North from last year in the regional play too. Let's go to
Indiana State. Look at that! Wow.
Yeah, Indiana State too. Yeah. Look at Thursday night, Liam Doyle. So against Florida, Doyle he labored. It was high stress situations. Me and Charlie talked about it last week, and he just kind of gutted through into the line. He gave up 1 run, 4 2/3, 3 hits. That's a really, really good start against Florida. Yet it just felt like, man, he just wasn't Superman. This week, just a horrendous second inning. Okay, he gives up. There's a textbook 4-6-3 double play that's botched, and that happens. That's baseball. Bases are loaded. He walks in 2 runs. He hits 2 batters in the inning. He gives up like a 2-run single. It just spiraled there in the second inning. Gives up a run in the third. And so at that point in time, it was 6-3. His last 3 innings, though, he stays in there. He saves the bullpen. He keeps it a close game. And he hands the baseball off to the bullpen. And that next inning, Tennessee cuts it to within 1 run. So it was one bad inning for Liam Doyle, but I was really impressed with how he just went to work and kept the game where it was. And more importantly, Xander, save the bullpen. That was inning number 2 of a long weekend coming up. Save the bullpen. You've been in that situation before over your career. What's the mindset when things just don't go your way, but you know, like, hey, I gotta get in gear here and give my team a couple more innings?
Yeah, what separates good and great pitchers is whenever you don't have your A+ stuff, it's figuring out a way to win the ball game. And Liam's start kind of reminded me of Drew Beam's start last year at Alabama, where he went, I think it was like 8 innings.
Complete game, yeah.
Complete game, but it was only 8 innings. So, yeah, it was a complete game. And there was a 6. He gave up 6, but I don't know how many were earned, but there were 6 runs. And he went a complete game. And obviously we lost that game. But it kind of reminded me of that. Like, you know, Beam didn't have his A+ stuff that day. Doyle didn't have his A+ stuff day. But like I said, to just be able to put that behind you and just go to work and try to win as best as possible is the best thing you can do as a pitcher. And, you know, it's tough when because it's an island out there. Trust me, when the inning's starting to ravel and, you know, not going your way, it's lonely out there. But it was good to see. I know one inning gets away from you and it is what it is, but being able to bounce back and save the bullpen, because they had a TBA on Sunday. So, you know, if they throw a lot of pitchers on Friday, who knows who starts on Sunday. So it's kind of that, you know, V strategy where maybe we just let Liam ride for 6-7 innings no matter what happens, because we got to save the bullpen for Sunday, because I bet you they already had something planned for Sunday regardless. So that's why they didn't really use a lot of pitchers on Thursday. Plus it's a short week, so you don't want to, you know, use a lot of guys really off a short rest, because a lot of guys did pitch on Tuesday. So yeah, it's tough and it's a lonely island to be on, but hey, it's all right. Even though we did lose Thursday, we did win, you know, Friday, Saturday, and we're coming home with the SEC series win, and that's all you can ask for.
I remember one of the many interviews that you did in Omaha. This was one, it's probably a scrum right after you guys won the whole thing. And you were talking to us, and Dylan Lloyd walked by, and you grabbed him, got him in a little bit of a headlock, and you told us this guy's going to be an absolute stud. And, dude, he's such a weapon for Tennessee this year. Already transitioning to that Kirby role, but on that Thursday night, when Doyle handed him the ball to Loy, and Loy pitched 2 innings, scoreless baseball, came in on Saturday, and, you know, collected let's see, he walked 1, struck out 1, had a big out to get Marcus out of a jam. I mean, we've already seen a couple different situations where Dylan Lloyd's come up huge, and he's put on some weight. He's transformed his body. I mean, I think he's going to be an absolute weapon for Tennessee this year. What did you see from not Doyle, from Lloyd last year to make you so confident in him?
Well, it's just that Kirby role, Kirby mentality. I mean, I wasn't joking when I snatched him aside and said he was going to be a stud one day. It's like, hey, you can call me right in that aspect. That's fine. I'll take credit for that one. That's okay. Kirby would say the same thing, but you could just see it. Like, not because he was a freshman throwing in big spots, but you can just see it the way he was, you know, facing lefties a lot and the spots that he was in. I mean, you could just see it. I mean, just an average fan might not know, you know, that little part, but you could just see. I mean, he pitched in a national championship game as a freshman, although he probably didn't have the outing that he wanted, but he did strike a guy out, got a few outs, and I mean, he's just growing. And I told him after the game, I was like, look, I know we won the ship, and I know you didn't have the outing that you wanted, but you can grow from this. It's just, you know, you're a young guy. Like, next year, you're going to be the guy that's going to be in the Kirby role. So it was just all year talking to Deloy, and I'm so happy for him. I still talk to him today, so it's not like that relationship has ended, but it's just you know we me and Kirby were just talking to him all of last year. We always hung out with him, and we always tried to take him under our wing the best that we could because we saw what he was going to be, and two, we knew the role like right out the gate of what he was going to be for 3 or 4 years, however long he's here for. So you just kind of and credit to him, man. He's done a great job, and he bought into the culture real quickly, and I'm so happy for him. And obviously a little biased with the lefty left-handed arm there, but it's okay. And he'll be a fan favorite for sure. And I bet you he's kind of going up that scale, fan favorite.
Yeah, no doubt he is. Plus, he's a local guy. He's from nearby Pigeon Forge, so that's that's huge for him. I asked you this before we recorded, and you crossed paths with him a couple of times. Obviously, you didn't play with these guys, but on Saturday, man, I mean, this is just another example of just it's humming, man. Frank Anderson, Tony Vitello, just what you guys do on the mound every single year. You got a true freshman in Tegan Coons. Second straight starts. He didn't get a true start against Florida. They just let him go one time through the order. He pretty much opened. He got a true start the other day. Went 4 1/3, 5 strikeouts, 1 hit, no runs. Was phenomenal. And then hands the baseball over to Braden Krenzel. And one of the things I like about Tony Vitello is when he says something, he means it. Like Tuesday night, Krenzel threw in that midweek, like 2 innings and a third, scoreless, looked really good. After the game, he said, Krenzel's earned the right to get some innings this weekend, and he's going to. Lo and behold, he threw 4 1/3 on Saturday and nearly completed the whole daggone thing. Those two freshmen looked so good. And, I did a little story on him after the game, and I'm like, man, first time pitching on the road in SEC play, these true freshmen. And Alabama's offense is really good. One of the best players in the country, Justin LeBron, between the two, 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts, I think. I was really impressed with those two guys. And, I mean, it's not like we haven't seen this before from a Tennessee freshman pitcher, but really impressive stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just want to know what you get out of your freshman, and seeing those two guys go back to back and do what they did. Now it's just, can you keep doing it? It's not just about obviously right now their families and everybody on the team is very happy for them, and I hope they enjoy it. They enjoy the moment, especially today. I would enjoy it. You two just pitched a great game. I enjoyed it today, but once Monday hits, can we do it again? It's like, I'm not like downplaying it. Don't I don't want people to think like I'm downplaying that, but they're young, and I just want them to continue and not get too high and not get too low. I mean, we're going to see up and downs all year, and maybe Coons can take control of the Sunday true starter on Sunday. So we'll see where they go with it. And coming back to the midweek points, that statement's true. If you pitch well in the midweeks, you kind of weird, but you kind of handcuff Coach V into actually putting you in on the midweeks, or not midweeks, like the weekends, because essentially he has no choice because you're just rolling, and like you're proving like each opportunity that you get, you're doing something right, or you're getting better and better each time you get out there. So for me, it's just for those two, just keep doing what you're doing, and just continue and see if you can keep doing it. Keep stacking the repetitions, because obviously they'll be here for another 2 years at the least. So you got a future there, and maybe, Coons one day can take the Friday spot, and then you have Crenswell taking the Saturday spot. You never know. So like I just said, it's just about stacking and keep going. And, the future's bright for them, obviously.
Yeah. Future is definitely bright for those two righties. Just a lot of movement on both. The velo's high for Coons, and a lot of movement on that fastball. And, Krenzel's got such a nice pitch selection to be so young, and the ability to throw it. So that's been pretty good. If memory serves me right, I believe the old TBA was dropped after this weekend last year. You guys are playing Georgia. It was the Sweet 16 Elite 8 weekend, because I remember I stayed home watching, did some work, but I obviously was covering the game that you were pitching in. And you silenced one of the best offenses in the country. And then I think from there, it wasn't just TBA on Sunday. It was, all right, Zander's going to get an actual true start, just go on from there. And, of course, it built on from there. I mean, this was a big weekend a year ago for you that it definitely didn't kickstart, because you put in a ton of work before then, but it kind of got the ball rolling a little bit.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because last year I didn't even pitch in the Alabama series. And then the Georgia one rolled around, and then I went 6 shutty in that. But then, you know, I said, like I just said, I said keep continuing it, but then I get roughed up against Vandy and Florida back-to-back weekends.
Mm-hmm.
So now you just start, you know, thinking again, because you're like, well, I just had a great start against Georgia. Now I'm back to like where I just started.
I remember one time you told me during that stretch, you're like, Vol Nation, I'm not trying to suck, I promise.
I wasn't trying to suck. I mean, I'm trying to do the best that I can, but it's baseball, and I just had to regroup. And obviously, film doesn't lie, and you know, sometimes you just gotta go back on that. But yeah, I think Coons will take control of it, but it's still interesting to see with Doyle being stretched to about, you know, it looks like 7, because Coach A likes to do the starter 7 setup with a closer. I think maybe they keep Tanner as their closer. I meant to ask you this question, but we were probably going to get to it anyway about Tanner, because obviously he was kind of a guy that was long relief after Doyle from left to right, because V loves doing that. But I guess he's taking control of the closer role, but he's also a guy that you could start, you know, whenever you want, especially when it comes to SEC tournament time, because we know all about that. But yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are, but it seems to me that I think they're just going to keep him, maybe 8th, 9th guy probably in there, maybe take one day off, put a bullpen after Marcus maybe, and if he doesn't pitch on, let's just say Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like if he doesn't pitch on Friday, you can throw him after Marcus on Saturday, and if it's a TBA, maybe you could start him on a Sunday. But
he's done that already. He did
I'm
that
interested
one time
to see what they do there.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Again, I mean, you've seen it more than I. Like, there's just so many Swiss Army knives that they have back there, right? I mean, Nate Snead's a perfect example. I think in a perfect world, if like on a Friday night, and we've already seen this against, I think it was Florida, you know, Liam goes and they have a bridge and they have a short, you know, relief or whatever, and then Snead comes in. Doesn't matter if it's 3 outs or if it's the last 2 innings. You know, Snead's going to come in there and shut it down. They tried to do that on Friday, game 2 this past week. He just kind of ran out of gas there at the end. But I think in a perfect world, Snead, of course, is your, you know, quote-unquote closer. But Franklin's interesting because, again, like you said, he started the season off in that role, kind of coming back in long relief after Doyle. You know, he's hit 102 a couple times this year. The velo's there. He got roughed up a bit against Florida, got roughed up a little bit against in Houston against Oklahoma State. And he gave up the I guess the game-winning home run against ETSU on Tuesday. But I actually thought he looked better on Tuesday. You know, V, I think, is putting him out there, and Frank Anderson putting him out there a lot quickly after rough outings, just to kind of get back in the swing of things, get the mind right. And I thought Friday was just massive for him. Snead ran out of gas. V and Frank went matchup. Banky for 1 out against a lefty, and then Franklin there against a righty to end it. That strikeout, onions, huge for him. Obviously came in and got the final out on Sunday, or I guess Saturday as well, in Game 3, just to finish that sucker off. But again, I think they can use him as a quote unquote closer. I think they can use him as a setup. I think when you have a guy like him, Franklin, hopefully Combs will come around a little bit too. Like, that gives you 3 really solid, versatile options in the back end of the bullpen, and we already know what, you know, Loy can do and some of these other guys. So it's a pretty good situation to be in. But I thought it was a big weekend, a big week really for Franklin after getting kind of roughed up against Florida.
Yeah, that's what really struck me there, because obviously when you have, you know, kind of rough outings, you kind of just want to get back out there, and it was good to see him get back out there. And then you mentioned Banky, it's good to see him get back out there, and obviously Loy is just doing his thing. And let's not forget, Loy could also start if he wanted to, because of the SEC tournament final last year. That's where he kind of really solidified himself as a Ball Nation favorite, in my opinion. But yeah, you know, got a lot of pitchers, and it's a good problem to have, is what they say. But you know, with nowadays, you never know, and stuff like that. But it's a good problem to have, and obviously it was just a second week of SEC play, so things aren't, you know, truly figured out yet, but they'll definitely figure them out.
I've already got you 30 minutes, so I'm not going to hold you much longer. I do want to ask you about a sequence. I want to get your thoughts as a pitcher, okay? It happened, I don't know if you saw it or not. It was early in Game 3 on Saturday. Maybe you saw it on social media. You got Andrew Fisher at the plate. He's down 1-2, asks for time, steps out, batting glove, spray, taking his time on the road. They're booing him, get back in the box, He hears it. He slows down. He's trolling, okay? Gets back in the box, works the count 3-2, fouls one off his foot, does the whole thing again. Boo, slowing things down, trolling, gets back in there, hits a nuke, pimps it as he should, and then he, runs around the bases. Tennessee has a home run. Dalton Bargo follows up the back-to-back jack. Rob Vaughn gets tossed because he was just irate trying to spark his team. It was a huge moment in the game, but I've been saying it all week. I love that sequence. If that happened at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, Tennessee fans would lose their minds. But if you're going to do that, back it up. He backed it up. As a pitcher, man, how frustrating is that? Because you guys are all about pace timing. How frustrating is that if you have a guy do that to you?
The time part is where I get a little irritated. No disrespect to Fisher at all, but you're just saying from a pitcher's mindset.
Yeah.
The time thing is a little bit different than the foul off the foot, because as a pitcher you don't really know if it truly got him a little gimpy or not. So you kind of all right, that's a full reset for both the batter and the pitcher. But the time with the spray and the batting gloves, trust me, I know the ins and outs of that, and the eye. Don't forget about the eye one too. that one's good. Yeah, that one.
It's one of those when he's on your team, you love it. When you're facing him.
Oh, but if you're facing, it's
it's the AJ Przinsky. Everybody in baseball hated him when he came to the Braves. That's my guy. Love him.
Yeah. It's you need pine tar on 1-2. Okay. Oh, you need to adjust your gloves on 1-2. Oh, something was in your eye on 1-2. Yeah. So the timing one, obviously you don't know. You can't just be. But the fans can boo all they want. It's freedom of speech there, so they can do whatever they want. And if they even a kid can yell at you, aka the Blake Burke situation. So maybe let the players just do their things. If I was an average fan, just let them do their thing. But it's a little, it gets in your head a little bit, especially only the really time one really gets in your head, because you obviously. We're in a rhythm. We're already in the middle of an at-bat, and all of a sudden you
and that's why you do it, right? That's why you do it. You call time, disrupt it,
Yeah. Normally it does happen with 2 strikes, because obviously if it's, a quick AB, the hitter's going to take time. But the foul off the foot's a little bit easier to comprehend with, because then the pitcher can actually, take a breath and kind of reset anything he's going. But the time one does get into every pitcher's head, no matter what they say. Oh, it doesn't bother me. Yeah, it does. It does, because you're such in a rhythm. But like I said, the foul off the foot, nah, that one's fine.
Yeah, I thought it was a great environment this weekend. I thought the in-game entertainment there was pretty cool. I thought the fans brought it. Tony mentioned it a couple different times, and he always does. It's what makes this league so great, and it's challenging. And it was funny because Andrew Fisher had such a great weekend. He homered in game 1. He walked 3 times that game as well, game 3. The next 3 times they came up to bat on Saturday, not everybody, but 2 or 3, sometimes it's not as loud, right? They were booing him 2 or 3 guys. I thought it was so funny. So really, really good environment, no doubt. Last thing, going back on the road, right? You had that first experience in Houston, but you had the first true experience, SEC play, hostile environment on the road last weekend, going to South Carolina. How much do you think this team learned last weekend? And obviously just, will it feel normal now, I guess, this routine on the road in conference play this weekend?
I won't lie. We actually enjoyed road trips. No discredit to Vol Nation, but road trips are a little different because you get closer as a team. You bond more. And going back-to-back in the SEC is definitely a bonding moment. And South Carolina is a tough place to play. Not a lot of people would think that, but it is historically for us. We haven't swept at their place in a very long time. It's usually 2 out of 3. So it'll probably come down to a rubber match again. But yeah, South Carolina is a tough place to play, and anywhere on the road in the SEC is pretty tough, no matter what the records are, what the environment is. I mean, if you go to Missouri at this time, it's cold. So that's one thing. If you go to LSU, they'll be rocking. Texas A&M, they'll be rocking. And now you got Ole Miss doing well, so they'll be rocking down there. Georgia still doing their things, even though Foley Field is not the most, packed out stadium in the SEC. They can still bring it there because it's pretty interesting. They put the student section on top of the visitors dugout. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit of a different environment there. And then they got the party house out and right. They packed that out the other weekend against Kentucky. So yeah, anywhere you go on the SEC, it's going to be tough regardless of who the team is and what their record is.
Zander, great stuff, man, as always. Appreciate you, and look forward next time we speak. You'll be assigned somewhere and ready to get your season started.
Yeah, we'll see. I know as much as you know. That's what I like to put it.
As always, man, appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Great stuff there from Zander Sechrist. Always really enjoy catching up with Zander right here on the porch. Him and Charlie Taylor alternate weeks for the most part, and they have done a heck of a job. I know you guys really, really enjoy hearing from the former Vols. All right, big weekend coming up. On the road, SEC play tomorrow night, Friday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time at Founders Park in Columbia, South Carolina, SEC Network Plus. On Saturday, 4 o'clock Eastern Time, right smack dab in the middle of the day. You got to love that, right? In terms of, afternoon days. Let me phrase this. Right smack dab in the middle of baseball usual times, right? Noon 1, 7:30. This one's at 4. That's what I'm trying to say. But anyway, 4 o'clock Eastern Time in the afternoon, Tennessee, South Carolina for Game 2 on Saturday. And then Sunday is going to be televised on the SEC Network. 5 o'clock is the time, Eastern Time, on, again, the SEC Network. Really appreciate you guys for joining us here today. Appreciate Zander Sechrist, and always appreciate our proud presenting sponsors, Spivey King and Spivey LLP. You got a problem? Let them find a solution for you, TN Trial Lawyers. We'll see what's in store for Tennessee and South Carolina on the road at Founders Park. That's coming up this weekend. All the coverage for you right here at Volquest.com. Until next time, guys, appreciate you guys listening to us, watching us right here on the porch.